Hi guys, this is an example build from scratch. This is a practice run for a meeting I'm about to do. I thought I'd record it and see if it's a useful asset for later. So our core build from scratch is going to focus on building out the data model, putting an experience layer on top of that for the users to be able to create, update and delete data within the request application that we're going to do. Then we're going to look at integration. Integration is a really core part of Appian in orchestrating across different systems of record. So we'll swap out one of our data sources for a remote data source and pull some data from somewhere else and use that in what we've already built. Then we'll look at AI and process. So we'll build a little AI model and drop it into our create data process so that it can do some agent work for us, a little bit of triage as an example. We can kind of bookend this core build by looking at how we can plan applications in Appian, which can give you a fast start for building some of the core assets. And we'll also look at how Process HQ can give you that kind of oversight. Okay, so let's get started on the first section. So we're going to focus first of all on planning our application and building out our data model. Now we're going to build that request data model. It's going to have lookup tables for status and priority. It's going to have a table for countries. I call this a stub table for being able to pick the country. That's the record that we're going to replace with our integration a bit later. And we'll add the data model for capturing all the event information that will be needed for Process HQ, and we'll add some collaboration. We'll also populate some test data into this, so we've got something to look at in our application. Now I'm going to do this pretty quickly, so this isn't a training session. This is an example build to see what's possible in Appian. So let's get started. I'm going to create an application. I'm going to call it our customer request app. We're going to accept the security suggestions, and this is where we plan our application. So let's start with building out our data model. Our first record type is going to be our main customer requests record. And we're going to build the data model from scratch rather than using existing table. Appian already suggests some core fields that are common to use when it's created and modified in the ID. For speed, I'm just going to create this very standard data model of name, description, start and end date. This is perfect for a request. We're also going to add in some choice list fields. So the first one we'll take is their suggestion, the status one, and we'll just accept those suggested. Life cycle, and we've got priority, low, medium, and high. We'll use this as well later. Now we're going to add one extra choice field, which is going to be our country, and I have a few countries that we can paste in here. It's just a small list of country codes. We'll replace these later, as I mentioned. Okay, so now we've got our data model, and it's creating 3 additional record types for us. So it confirms all the relationships that it's put in place. We've got relationships on the users, these 3, relationships to the country table, and priority and the status. That's all we've got on our application for now. So we can see what that looks like. Those different record types, all of our customer request. So that's great. It's going to create the table for us. We'll save that. And it can download the database script, which we can use for deployments upstream later. So now we've got the start of our data model. Pretty quick. Obviously, you'd in the real world, you'd be spending a bit more time curating what this might look like, unless you're using the planner to fast track that. So we're going to add a couple more tables to this because we do want some event data in here. So we're going to ask it to generate our event records. So this will let us record events, so things can be created, updated, commented on, and we can have them maybe resolved as well. And it will also create us the tables that we need to be able to subscribe and follow it, as well as commenting on it. So let's generate those. So Appian's doing quite a lot of work in the background here. It's creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different record types for us, and those are all configured. And we have the option to be able to have fine control over the different fields and where they are on this if we need to. But we're just going to accept the recommended ones for today. So now let's have some data in our data sets. So we just have to save this, and now we can ask it to generate some sample data for us. And it will generate data through the relationships. So it's going to create some event data for us as well. You can see our data model is built out a little bit now because we've got our event record on there, as well as the few other pieces. So it's now using a large language model to generate sample data for this record type. It will just create generic data, but we'll have the option to kind of fine tune this. And in fact, we'll go straight ahead and give it a bit of guidance on this. I want it to be car data, so make it supplier requests about missing part information, invoice issues, and other supplier problems. So now we can let it tailor this. So rather than having network security assessment and data warehousing in there, we can make it about supply chain. Now, the language model is doing a lot of different things here because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 different records that it's generating data for. So it's producing a lot of information. So we do just have to wait a moment for this. Okay, good. So we've got some supplier information in there now. I need to refresh this to get the preview to show. We can see we've got some data in here now. So that is the foundations. If we go back to where we were here, we have now done our plan and data phase of this build. We have built our request data model. It's got status and priority fields. It's got a countries table. It captures events. It has collaboration, and it has test data. What we really need now is an experience layer to bring to life what we've actually done, because this is very foundational of the data fabric. So what we need is a list of requests. We need to be able to view a list of them. We need to be able to take action on those. We need to create, update, and delete them. Those will be our foundation processes that we'll build everything else on top of. We need a summary view of an actual request and what it looks like and its status, its life cycle that it's going to go through. And we need a site to host our application in and a dashboard. So this is going to introduce Sail and a lot of the experience side of Appian. Okay. So it does initially continue here. So the record is designed to understand a lot of this for you. So it already has they're going to pass that the fields that we've got and created a record list pre-styled view because we've got test data in. We can see what it actually looks like. This is good. We can delete and remove columns. So if we didn't want all of these, we can remove the modified column or whatever it is that we don't want to do. We can change or reorder these things. For the sake of time, I'm going to leave it alone, and I'm going to next look at the actions. So Appian will do the create, update, and delete actions foundations for you. We can customize this, change the name of them and things like that. Again, we're just going to keep the pace moving. We've only got a short amount of time. So this is now added for us, create action, delete action, update action, and process models that control that logic and what's happening in there. We will come back and look at that in a little bit more detail in the next section. But for now, we just want to focus on that. The user experience stuff. So there's one more thing to do in here, and that's the view of the record itself. At this point, we can have a little preview of this. We have our list of requests, but if we go and we've got our actions for creating them, if I click on this, I can see, I can give it a name and a description, start date, assign it. This is all like type ahead. I can choose our priorities, and I can select from our countries. Okay, so we've got quite a good foundation here. This is all editable, of course. But when we click into here, we've got nothing in that supplier information. So let's make this view for us. Now we can choose what's displayed on here. We've got our primary request data, and we've got all of this related data. Most of these are already going to be on the core record anyway. We could add a list of subscribers in, but if you had a one-to-many relationship in here, then you would also select that record to be able to show those on the grid. We can give this it's our request summary. And it's going to tell us it's creating this design object for us and using this security rule. Okay, so now if we go back to where we were before and refresh this, we can now see the data for our individual customer request. It's not started, in progress, and done. It's our life cycle. I think it's already at the done phase. It's got a medium priority. Got missing invoice tracking information, contacts. We can collaborate. I need help with this. I can post to it. I can subscribe to it, so I get notifications of things that are happening. I've got actions to delete it, and I can, of course, update it and make a change to it. Okay, so all of that is functional. This is a design that we can edit and have control over. So let's kind of dive a bit deeper into that and look at the interface design experience by putting a site together and putting some other pieces of the puzzle in, focusing on we've got these done now with a create, update, and delete. We've got our summary view of the requests, and we're going to have a site to host the application and put a dashboard for the users. Okay, if I refresh this view now, we've got a few more objects that are being created. We can see we've got all of our different record types that are effectively tables that are in our application. We've got some interfaces for creating, updating our summary view interface as well. And we've got some process models. Let's have a site now. So a site lets us customer requests, lets us access our application on the front end. And this is where we can control a lot of the styling options. So we can have our kind of menu bar along the top, or we can choose to have it down the side. We can have different color styles. We can have it down the side. We can change our logos out for different things. We can change our color scheme. We can choose the shape of our dialogues and our buttons. We might prefer a more rounded look, and what our buttons look like, and all of our colors and things like that we can override here. But what we need really is our home page. This is going to be a little home for us, and we're going to have a new interface in here, which is going to be our dashboard. And this is going to take us for the first time into our interface designer. And this is a typical drag and drop design experience that lets you build out your applications. So let's start off with a top level layout. So we'll have a panes layout with a header. I'm going to use some of our design library stuff. So this is promoting reusability. So I'm going to put in our company header, which we designed to be reused, and I will just quickly give it a couple of configurations. This is our supplier requests and our page title home. Okay, so this is we could put an icon in here as well. Now I'm going to put in some other things. Just have a task list in here. So the defaults for that. And what we'll put in is our grid here. So we have our read-only grid, can sit in the center. And our grid is going to be backed by our record type. There's lots of configuration options in here, but our CRA customer request is our grid that we want. Where's the label? Just hide that. Okay, we put our grid in here. It comes pre-styled. Again, we can change how we want this to look. I prefer the priority up here. I'm not worried about all these things. Anyway, okay. So we've configured some of this. This is a good starting point. If we save this and return to here, add that in, we can see it all kind of previewed. We can save the changes and open this in the front end. So now I've got a site. My color scheme isn't perfect. I really want to change these color codes and the branding. This is collapsible. I've got my tasks that I can access here. I've got I can drill in and see my record type. I can make the changes to it, and let's look at a different one. Are they all done? I don't know. In progress. There you go, this one's in progress. So we can see what's been going on. There's some comments on here. We can reply to these. No, we can't. Okay, so this is a good foundation for our application. Let's make some changes to this create form and have a look at our our process. No, we won't. Let's go back to here. Okay, so we've put in an experience layer into our application. Next, let's make a big change to our application. We need our data to come from a different source. So we are going to connect Appian to SAP S/4HANA instance. We're going to integrate to the countries API, and we're going to swap out our countries record to be a remote data source rather than coming from within Appian. So this is a really important and powerful piece to give you the flexibility for that agility layer that you're sitting on top of Appian. So let's start now. We can do this from our record type, or we can do it from here. So we can choose to create a connected system and an integration to connect to SAP, and we will do that. But if we do it from the record, it will give us a similar flow, but a little bit more, but a little bit guided. So this is our country record, and it currently has 10 rows in it with a few country codes I pasted in. And we are going to replace this. So at the moment it's in a database. You can see here the database, and it's in a table called CRA country. But I'm going to change the source. So I can change the database table, but I can actually change the source of it. So we started out choosing this for our main record type in the beginning. And we're going to now say that this is going to be backed by a web service. We do want it to sync into Appian, so we have that kind of performance boost of the data fabric. And we need a source for this data. So let's create a new source. And it says, do you want to create a new integration or use an existing integration? Choose a connected system. So we could go to the designer and create a connected system, or we can follow the forward flows here. Appian makes it really easy to connect to a whole load of different things out of the box. We're going to use a generic HTTP connected system, and we're going to call this SAP. I got a nice fancy SAP logo. We'll use, and it's going to have an API key authentication. And I happen to know this information, so I've got our API key here. And we're going to create that. Okay, so it's created a connected system for us. This is all dropped in here. So here's our SAP logo and our connected system. This will be our get countries API call. We call this SAP_get country, something like that. And we store this in our CRA folder. And it's also going to create an expression rule for us. This is Appian's functional expression language, which we're going to see here. Ability for us to do some manipulation of the data before it's synced. I'm happy for it to be named this. I can change that if I want. It's asking me about paging. So this API returns 200 countries, and there's no paging required. But we could batch, and there's different methods for paging through data on web services that you can configure. No batching for this. So it's given me two objects that are ready to be modified. So it doesn't yet know how to get the countries. This is just a shell. So this is very much like Postman. It's asking me how to configure this. So I need to give it some information. So the relative path, we can inherit the URL from the connected system, which is not set. So our base URL is I missed some to type. Put that back in. Oh, I didn't write that in. And our relative path is the country API. Okay, so I don't know if we hit test on this now, it probably works straight away. Yeah, so it returns a whole load of XML. Bit of a mess at the moment, not quite what we wanted. I would actually prefer, so for Appian to pass this, it wants you to return it in a JSON format. You can work with XML as well if you want to, but if we set our accept header to JSON and ask Appian to handle that directly, then we get a much better response. So it's saying it's showing more lines than the preview would allow, but we can now see that we've got this body.d results, and we've got our country codes and our country letter ISO codes which we want to use. Okay, so this is good. We'll save that. That's returning the information as expected. Now if we go back to here, we now need to manipulate this a little bit. So this is our Appian's created this for us, which has got a small expression for handling what comes in from the API. If I test this now, it's going to show us that there's 250 line items, and I don't need all of these things, and it's also nested more than I need. So this is the body dot d dot results that I want. Let's test that. There we go. Now we've got a dictionary of 250 items. Now I need this. I want this to match my records data type. So I'm going to do a little bit of transformation here and show off the expression language. So for each of the results, I'm going to return a little map of the ID, which will be our index. What's our country? Value is going to be bang item dot country code. We need a sort order. I might sort it by this. It's that, and I've also got an is active. And I'm just going to set those to be true. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a ETL, if you like. Oh, and I have made a mistake. I've missed the comma off. Missed the comma off here. Here we go. Appian very helpfully debugged that for me. So ID value sort order is active. Okay, so I've got data that now matches my record type. So it attempts to evaluate this rule. If there was anything in here I wasn't happy with, I could go back and change it and refresh it. But this looks good. I've got a boolean, I've got text, I've got an integer ID, I've got the sort order. Next. So these is active, sort order. I don't know why I didn't match those. It's active, sort order. Okay, next. Anything I want to change here? No, I'm happy with this. The primary key is still the ID. And I can save this, and it will now sync my record type. And now if I look at my data preview, I'll have a lot more rows, and you preview some of them. If I go to here, I can see the whole list. I'll now have 250 countries in there. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. If I now go to my customer request form, do a new request, I should now be able to pick from the 250 countries are now sourced from SAP. Okay, good. That covers us for integration. So we connected to S4, we pulled data from the countries API, we swapped out our countries record for that data source, and it's probably worth saying, we now have these are reusable assets. So we now have this SAP connected system that we can reuse. We've got this countries API, which we can use anywhere in our application. Okay, so some reusable assets. So that covers the integration section. Now let's move on to what Appian's all about. Appian's about process, right? AI has a really good home in process. We'll talk more about that in VJ's section later. But let's have a look at editing the creation process that Appian's already generated for us. And we're going to create an AI skill to decide the priority of the case automatically for us. And we can route the workflow maybe based on that priority. We could even add RPA to the workflow, but we won't really go too far down that path. I'm going to leave that for the later session. Okay, so let's go back to Designer. So we'll start with this process model that the record type created for us. So this is a relatively simple process model that is designed. We have our start form, which we can have a look at. Our start form is what we had seen generated for us before. We've populated a couple of times. We can make changes to this if we want to. What it does here is it collects information, it checks you didn't press the cancel button, and it writes the data to the record. So we will do a bit of fun in here. We would choose our AI skill. We will execute generative AI skill in here. If we wanted to, we could add a robotic execution task here and kick off our RPA bot to do something. How we configure this is something that VJ will take you through later. That's slow, won't do that again. There you go, you can choose the robotic task. Right, let's do a couple of things. One last UX item I thought we could do actually is we could put some AI into this process in two places. So I will pop this in and quickly configure this. So I'm going to choose our record dot description to wire this up to, and call this our description. So this is our AI-driven text description field. So these are now both connected to the same record. So if I type in here, you can see it in here, which is good. Delete that. We made a change there. We could also have other things, like we could say that we wanted our status to be a drop down rather than a picker. We could just convert that to a drop down. Okay, we won't do that. Well, we can do that, but it just wants us to, if we convert it to a drop down, it just wants the placeholder text. Choose something. I don't know why this isn't pre-filled. Okay, now that was a bit of a sidetrack. Let's focus on our AI skill. We're going to set the priority of our case. So when they've filled that information out, we want to automatically set this priority. So I'm going to actually remove this from the form, but I could leave it for now. But we could, yeah, let's remove it. Why not? Let's live dangerously. Let's remove it from our form. And now we are going to get the AI to do this for us. Where is my window? Here we go. So let's create a new AI skill. I am going to do some classification of text, and I'm going to classify request priority. Okay, so we've got an example skill here where the prompt tells us what it wants to do. It's got an example as to how we want to output it. I will, for the sake of speed, I'll paste in something I made earlier. Pretty simple. Classify supply request 1, low, medium, high. Priority, return only the number rating. Missing parts are high priority. Invoicing, admin requests are low priority. Everything else is medium. So that's pretty simple. We can give it an example request to replace this one. You can give it as many examples as you want or none. So we'll say that if they're not able to deliver the wheels, then it would be a 3 as an example. So we can say my invoice is wrong, please reissue. And it says it's a 1, which is a low. Invoicing and admin is a low. Sorry, we can't send the exhaust today. It's gonna get medium. The part is missing. Okay, so that's fine. We'll happily take that, and now we can use this in our process. So let's have our CRA classify priority. So choosing the skill we want to use in the process. We need to give it some data. So what data we pass it in is the description, and the output is our response. We want the response to go into the record, the record's priority field, priority ID. Okay, so we can have our response. Now our response actually comes back as a text string. Appian should automatically pass that, and then we'll save it. Okay, so let's save and publish this and test out our process. So if we return to our fancy front end and create a new customer request, problems, sorry, we can't send the steering wheels for the Jag. Put in our start dates. These are required fields. Assign it to me. It's not started yet, and it's this country. Search UK. GBR. There we go. Create this. Okay. So now our process has been assigned. We can actually have a look and see what's happening in our process instances. So this is our live process that we just submitted, and I killed it. Okay, so this is because when Appian creates a table, initially it put a foreign key constraint on the customer request field. So our CRA request table structure. There's a foreign key for country. I'll drop that. Good. So there's our process. It completed nicely. If we look at the process details, we can see that the record had its priority set to 1. Okay. Well, after a small interlude, we have successfully routed. We have our AI skill to decide the priority. If we had more time, we could continue this on to say, based on the priority, we would go to an RPA, go to a robotic task, no, or something like that. We can continue to build out our process model. But we're going to leave it here for today. That's the end of our build from scratch. So we have completed our flow. We've planned our application. We've created our data fabric. We've configured the experience that our users are going to have. We've integrated to SAP and brought that data in with a little hiccup. And we have put AI in process to help us out. Now, this is a really basic example of what you can build in Appian, but we've done it in 45 minutes. And that, I hope, is inspiring and something that you can see that what's possible on Appian is significant, and it can really move your transformation and your agility forwards.